Deus Volt, my fellow gamers. So I got in that huge lot of undead awesomeness. I put a bunch of the painted stuff into the simple green, so we'll have another simple green video of me actually taking the paint off. Now with plastics, it works, but it works to varying degrees, like I told you how old the paint is and how thoroughly someone put it on. And generally with plastics, it doesn't come off as cleanly as with metals. So there will be that, but at least you were taking off paints. Now, oh man, okay, so the big item that was in the lot was a Revenant King on Undead Burrowing Wurm. And so I had to take an X-Acto knife and kind of carve as close as I could, because what I wanted is the outline of this base perfectly intact, because this is still what is viable for the game now. So had a little bit of damage, but that's okay, because you gotta use super glue, perfectly fine. So, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna build this up with layers, much like my other big beastie of the same build and all that good stuff. Here I have a bunch of stuff to take care of. You can see that ridge line there runs all along. This is another bad one. See, there's more of that in there. And on top of that, this guy unfortunately had a great deal of orange peel. You can really see it on the ribs there. And I have taken a stiff bristled brush, not just like a painting brush or anything, but this is like an automotive type stiff bristled brush. I didn't go with brass brush, or definitely not steel brush, because I would be adding a bunch of detail I don't want to add. This was a plastic brush, and it still did not get this crap off. So this is just a nightmare. I may go with brass brush, just lightly go with a brass brush, just to see what it will give me. But yeah, I've got to get these ribs smooth, man. There's no way I can hang with this. And then getting into some of these other creases in here with these little tailbone bits and stuff, you can tell, you can just see that orange peel right there. It's terrible. But the main difficult part of this was this guy here, the head. Okay? Now, I pointed it out in the unboxing and whatnot because you can still see that gate piece right there. You see it. And that is what's stopping this chin from going completely in and sealing up properly. I put this thing in the freezer. Doesn't work with resin. It will not pop off. If you notice, it's kind of thin here and thin on the top. So I can't really take my two fingers and press on here trying to pop this thing loose. All I will do is I will crack the top jaw and the bottom jaw in half. So what I had to do is I had to worry it, okay? And I'm holding it in place now. But what I did is you had this gigantic gap here. And normally I would say, yeah, let's go ahead and fill it in and it'll be okay. But I knew that if I could clean this gate piece, it would fit fine. Everything would be lovely. So on this other side, I had a really good seal. There's a seam there now, but there was no seam there before. Down on this jaw piece here and all along the inside of the mouth was basically seamless. I had this gigantic seam around the bottom, and more importantly, this one around here. This one right here allowed me to break the bond. So what I did is I put in a sharp X-Acto knife here and had to bring it across. See, had to bring it across and worry it. And you put it down on a hard surface so you're not going to cut yourself. And you slide it in there, and it's going to be tough. But what you do is you just keep applying pressure and kind of move it back and forth a little bit. But the downward pressure is important. Move it back and forth a bit. Now, you'll snap blades if you try to wrench it. You'll snap blades. I even put my old It's a bit thicker of a blade, I believe, but it's just a super old X-Acto blade. I put that one in there. But regardless, I was able to snap it off. Finally, it gave way. And you can see here, it was not cleaned properly. You have the two big pieces of gate here. Man, that thing is like 1/4 of an inch thick. And it made a giant gap. It makes a huge difference, guys, to clean your models, especially on pieces that join together. This made it really bad, and it was a nightmare. I haven't fought the true nightmare, which is taking the orange peel off of this. A whole different ball game, and it's a whole different ball game when I have to break out a brass brush to do so, because in that I might be disturbing detail. I might add those scratches as detail, and that's something I do not want to do. So with this, it needs to be removed, and that's super easy. I mean, anybody that, well, here, this is so big, I could put my Tamiya side cutters on this. Man, look at this, jeez, bro. So yes, always clean your models, guys. This little bits, little millimeter slices that I'm taking off, they add up, and they are what gaps are made of. And so you can still see the gate there. I'm gonna take my brush, my goodness, my X-Acto, probably put it at like a little 45 cant from the surface instead of perpendicular, cant it to 45 and scrape backwards. That's going to give you a wonderfully smooth surface, and it's going to gently scrape off any of that stuff. What you don't want is any of that remaining base there. Now I have to go through here and clean off a bunch of the glue, which gladly I'll do. It's the orange peel I'm going to have problems with. You might uncover some air bubbles. That's perfectly fine. This is going to be in the joint. Not really affecting the aesthetics of the model. See this glue here. Sometimes you can get lucky and get a giant chunk off if you're scraping it like this, but looks like it was sufficiently thin to not flake off. I'm just really glad I was able to pop that thing off. It took a while to get it off. And even this little bit of glue will add to the gap, because it was applied and cured while the model still had a gap in it. So it can pull up, it can get thick. And actually what I noticed with some of this primer is that it is so thick in spots it chips off, which is crazy. And to me, that's speaking of a primer can that wasn't shaken up the best. And I think that's what I attribute this orange peel to as well. It just was not shaken up properly. I kind of think, looking at the models, how they were cared for and how they were assembled and stuff, that this person was fairly new at the hobby and didn't have anybody to help them along their path of building and assembling, especially these expensive models. Now there's glue in here, and you can see how gapalicious it is. So I'm just going to see with what little I've done. Okay, so oh man, yeah, now it lines up. And I was thinking, especially these two large slashes here, see how that now lines up. It's not the best, but Now it's very little green stuff cleanup work. Okay, more like as if it had come, you know, straight from the box, brand new to me. But now, much nicer. Still a little, not so much gap. Man, check that out. That's so nice. I'm very much more happiness. Much more happy. So, yeah, able to fix that. Excellent. Now look at all this sad orange. Get the hell off of this horn, man. I don't want you there. Bro, if I have to do all these like little scales and stuff because it's orange, oh my gosh, so upsetting. But anyway, this has turned out pretty good. Now that he can smile and be happy. Look at that. He's happy now that his jaw fits. Yeah. And I think even, well, I've already cleaned it off because I'm just excited to get this guy up and running, but there was a bit of gait here as well. And if you guys saw the initial unboxing, the tail, where it should have been like this attached, and I mean my dragon had the same gap at the bottom, but it should have been attached like this. It was off like this much and rotated. I mean, I could clearly see the peg. It was insane. It might have been like this, rotated like that. But yeah, the peg was not in its insert right here, and it wasn't attached properly. So it's okay. This is gonna be a long, drawn out scrape fest here. What is exciting, I did find the sword bit for Homeboy, so I don't need to get a special skeleton hand or anything like that. And what's nice, I could see that this sword bit is supposed to be a straight sword, maybe yay high. But what I can do, I can cut that bad boy down to the hilt, take some plastic card and make something a bit chunkier. I'm kind of thinking on like orc sword terms, a little bit broader blade, maybe hammered at the edges, and of course like some holes, some rust pits and whatnot. And yes, you know, plastic card, you can totally do stuff like that. You know, it's wonderful. So I can give him his own special, like, big meaty cleaver sword or something, you know, just something beefy. These little bitty toothpick swords, man, I'm not a fan of. And I think for something robust like a Revenant King, he ought to have something like that. Another good thing, the guy included the staff. We got like a broken little spiky bit there, but that's okay. This is undead. Most of their stuff came out of the ground, you would expect. But you've got this weak point with this bad boy. And I'm thinking that I can just put either a thin brass rod, if I can dig one up, or a paper clip. A paper clip actually fits more the diameter of this. And I might not have to lose this wrapping here. I could cut it, drill it in. So, but anyway, thoughts for the future. You guys take it easy, carry a laser.